Hi, I'm Ben Wise.
Hi, Ben. Should we introduce ourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Probably.
I'm Lauren Oliver.
Hi. Oh, you go.
Lauren Oliver, author of the Delirium trilogy, as well as Before I Fall, and 2 books for middle grade.
I'm Lauren Morrill, and I wrote Meant to Be. I'm Lenore Appleton, and I wrote Level 2.
Hi. And did any of you guys have a particular favorite book or series to write? Or
Well, I did not, because I actually didn't. I think that when I write books, I end up feeling that they're all kind of challenging and also gratifying in different ways. It's always different.
yeah.
So Meant to Be is my first novel, and I always tend to really like whatever I'm working on at the time. So if you ask
I hate everything I'm working on.
I'm always like, this is the best book I've ever written. And then the next book I'm like, this is the best book maybe it's just like what I tell myself to get through the day. That's how it works for me.
Well, I also wrote a picture book, and picture book is a whole different beast than novel. And it was actually a lot less time intensive, so that was
Just have pictures.
yeah, my husband do all the work.
Did you have any favorite books that inspired you to write what you wrote?
I don't think there's any books in it's, well, no, that's not true. I think I'm always inspired by a ton of books, and it's hard. I think that as a lifelong reader, it's really hard to pinpoint because you end up really absorbing everything that you read, and it comes and becomes really influential later. I will say there was a book series that first inspired me to write, and that was Redwall by Brian Jack, and it's a wonderful series about mice that live in an
It's really good.
It's so good. And they have these amazing food scenes, these banquet scenes where there's trout and chestnut cream. It's so delicious. So that's sort of my lifelong obsession with writing and food.
I am a big contemporary YA reader, and that goes all the way back to Judy Blume's Just As Long As We're Together, which is the book that made me want to be a writer, that I read when I was in the 5th grade. And it was the book that made me realize that I could write about somebody just like me, and that could be interesting, with some changes. So that kind of opened my eyes to the world of contemporary reading from when I was little, and ever since then I still reread that book every couple of years.
Yeah, I started reading adult literary fiction in high school, disillusionment, all that sort of thing. And then I found YA, and it was so full of hope and so innovative. And then I thought, okay, I have to write in this genre. So just generally.
Yeah. And Lauren, this is not asking who you think should have ended up with Lena, because you already wrote that, but do you like Alex or Julian more as a character?
See, I feel like if I answer that question, though, it just gives away more of what my motivations were. And for the people who haven't read Requiem, first of all, shame on them. But, I think that I see, it's like what I feel about my own novels. It's like I see good things and major defects in both of them. Which is pretty much how I feel about all the books I've written. Good things and major defects. So,
Yeah.
I like Julian Alex.
At the end of this event, we're gonna let them jello wrestle it out. They're gonna jazz the sides it out.
And what's your biggest challenge and this is to Lauren. Oh, to Laurens, never mind, Lauren Morrill. What was your biggest challenge in writing a book set in another country?
Having never visited that country before was probably the biggest challenge. And thank goodness for the internet and Google Maps and Google Street View. I spent a lot of time researching what it really looks like, because I learned very quickly that I could not make it up. It's a real place. And actually,
It's after the second month, I learned that.
yeah, I know. I learned after the 3rd time getting the email that said it doesn't actually look like that. I was like, I have to figure out what it actually looks like. There's a scene where Julia and her classmates go from the airport to the hotel, and I had originally just been like, and then they rode the bus, the end. And my editor said I would really like to see that, and I thought, oh crap. So I got on Google Maps and I had picked a hotel, so I did the street view. I basically did the route from the airport to the hotel and then literally clicked through on street view the whole way. It took a long time. So that's real.
You should have gone.
I know. Well, I kept saying to my husband, it's a tax write-off, and he goes, that doesn't make sense.
I know. I get confused about that too.
So hopefully now I'll get to go and see if I was right.
If I wrote a book set in Britain, it would be calling French fries chips. That would be the main struggle for me.
That was I had been to Scotland, so I kind of knew a few Britishisms, and I definitely had to educate myself. So.
And Lenora, what's your favorite memory, like either your own or one of the characters from your book?
Well, the memory that I really enjoyed writing the most was probably the memory in Turkey, where she goes on a trip with her father. And that's actually the one place in the book that I hadn't been myself. So I based it on a trip that my husband took. So he had described it so vividly, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to write that. And so I kept asking him, okay, so what did it look like? And that was
I'm just picturing Daniel responding. He's like, huh?
he was really good about it. And then he went with his Turkish trainer. He does a screamo like stick fighting. And so I called him up and asked him like what the place was called. So it's all very authentic.
Are you planning on like continuing Delirium after the
The series?
yeah.
Well, as Justin Bieber famously said, never say never. Baby, baby, baby. Oh, he also said that. But never say never. No, I mean, I have no imminent plans. I feel like I really loved the series. I was really sad when it ended, and I'm happy because it's they just filmed the pilot for the TV series. So hopefully, if that makes it to air, there'll be a lot of chance for them to explore the world much more deeply. But for me, I have other things. Right now, I just have other things I want to write and focus on and do.
That's a good idea. And Lenora, was there a specific reason, just what I thought, why Felicia can't interfere with the life going on while she's in her cell, like see her life differently, like have different memories of what happened?
You mean why?
Like actually be in it? Actually be in the memories
Like
instead of
be
be in the
change
cell?
things?
Yeah.
Oh, because the memories are her actual memories.
Or just download it out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I should have understood that.
Good thing you had the author here.
I mean, she does go in and change someone else's memory, and so there is a question put forth, like how, can you believe your memories? And that does come into play in the second book, actually. But
So it's not that you didn't understand, you're just a genius. You're
Yeah.
prescient.
you were looking ahead. Very perceptive. But in that book, all of her memories are authentic. Well, okay. Maybe
Authentic
one
as
of them isn't, but you'll see later.
I love memory books.
Lauren, are you more like Lena, Samantha Kingston, Hannah, or Juliet from Before I Fall personality-wise?
Definitely Samantha Kingston. Just kidding. Just kidding.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
At the end.
No, I mean, it's funny. You have to really put yourself in your main characters, but I think I've always said this is like going to be engraved on my tombstone. It would be a weird thing to have engraved on your tombstone, but like novels are like dreams, and like all the characters are kind of you, but they just represent. They wear different faces and they represent different sides of you. So, in some ways, I'm like Samantha. In some ways, I'm not. In some ways, I'm like Lena. I mean, probably I'm an amalgamation of all of my main characters. If we put them all together, the shared anxieties and fears and the same like passion, the questions they struggle with, those are all things that matter to me and mean a lot to me. So basically I'm saying Lindsay. I'm like,
Okay. And why would you what is the reason to put a love triangle in any book? Not that I don't like love triangles, but
Well, because also two boys have always been boys have always fought for my attention, so it's just normal. No, just kidding. I mean, I do think it's become kind of a convention, but I also think that relationships are much more interested if they're triangulated. If there's an obstacle and that's preventing two people from being together, and in some cases the obstacle can be another person. You know, I mean, there always has to be. It wouldn't be an interesting romance if from the start the two people who are going to end up together in the first place. There would be no story. You know, so it's a form of creating an obstacle and triangulating it.
I was about to be like, well, mine doesn't have one, but it does.
Yeah.
And also, I think like when you're young, everything changes so fast every day for you that some days you wake up and this is your intent, and some days you wake up and this is your intent. And I think that is reflective of teenage love. It changes very quickly and it's very intense no matter what.
And I think it too depends on your definition of a love triangle, because a lot of times we'll say, if there's two boys in the book, then it must be a love triangle, but it's not always the case. Like in level 2, there isn't a love triangle because she was dating him at different times. You know? I would say like, I'm in a love triangle with my husband and my ex-boyfriend.
No.
Yeah, and it's true. And I mean, like in Requiem, there's like a love square. So there's different ways of riffing on it, basically. But it's usually true too. I do think like part of growing up is learning not just who you are, but also the kind of person who you want to be with. So presenting different characteristics embodied by different people allows you to explore that. Thank you for your great questions.
Thanks for answering my great questions.